Recording live from the Lucky Number 7 Lounge, this is Dine, Drink Vegas, the podcast by and for everybody stuck at home, wishing they were in the land of neon lights and bad decisions. I'm your host, John, and you've stumbled across episode number 62, a Bourbon Showdown, version 2.0, because tech problems. In this episode, I'm going to subject Bill to a blind tasting of two bourbons that he has no idea what I've sent him. Of course, after we do that, we're going to dive into all the Las Vegas news that we thought was interesting. But we can't do any of that until we introduce the founder of Dine, Drink Vegas and Dine, Drink Travel himself. Yes, I mean the high roller, formerly of the High Plains, the leader in the luxury lounge, the king of comps, the Alabama slammer, the man who is always waiting on that limousine to carry him away to his next luxurious Las Vegas destination. Of course, I mean Bill. Bill, can you hear me after our tech glitch?
What?
Yeah. Okay. So listeners, we were in the middle of explaining this, and we don't want to pretend that we haven't gotten halfway through this booze tasting. So I sent Bill two bourbon samples, and Bill, you received those more or less intact?
More or less, sure.
And your impression with these initially before you had a chance to open, smell, and taste?
My impression that I was terrified because you and I have been very good friends for a long time. And as good friends, I just necessarily assumed that you had screwed with me because all these were two, I think those are urine sample cups, man. One marked A and one marked B. And I don't know, it's kind of a dark brown color, but before I had my first taste, that was really everything I knew.
You were worried I was dehydrated and sending samples around.
I was worried about a lot of things, John. Yeah.
So before our first attempt to record this crash and burned, we were in the middle of sample A. So on the nose, Bill, you basically said you got sweetness.
Yes, I said I got sweetness, and then I tasted it. And I said it's a hotter bourbon than I'm used to, which I initially attributed to the fact that it didn't have and there was no ice in it, right? Like I almost always drink my bourbon with ice. Now, John, tell us what you're willing to tell us before, because I still haven't finished properly my taste test of sample A. Tell us what you're willing to tell us about the proof of bourbon A.
So both, and I will say this is true about both of them. Both of these bourbons at MSRP are mid-shelf bourbons. These are not bottom shelf bourbons. Now, listeners, don't be afraid of cheap bourbon. There are some spirits, cheap is bad. Cheap tequila, bad tequila. Cheap vodka, bad vodka. Cheap Scotch, cheap Irish, you tend to get what you pay for. But there are some really great cheap bourbons. That said, these are mid-shelf at MSRP. Manufacturer suggested retail price for those of you that don't do retail speak. They are both above 100 proof. I will not give you an age statement. They actually don't both carry an age statement, but I know enough about how they're made. They are of similar but not the same product age. And that's as much as I'm going to give you for now. You did say, because I said I could smell a little honeysuckle.
You also said caramel.
I did, and I could taste caramel on the tongue as well. And you said that even at the higher proof where there was an alcohol burn, you did not detect spiciness, and you don't think this is a high rye bourbon. And you're correct. Sample A is not high rye. And that's as much as I'm telling you for now. We're going to get to see if you can guess these later after we've tasted both. But I believe during our technical difficulties, you wanted the opportunity to dilute sample A.
I did.
So I'll let you do that. And I will say, listeners, you're going to hear people say, don't ever mix water or ice into your whiskey. No, drink your whiskey how you like it. And also with high proof whiskeys, dilution's not a bad thing. It changes the flavor profile. It opens it up. And I'm going to dilute mine a bit too. So Bill, I'll give you a second to sniff and taste anew with a little bit of dilution.
So I just put in one regular ice cube, and that's something else too when I drink my whiskey. In addition to diluting it a bit, I almost always drink it cold because I'm from the vast wastelands of Western Texas. I now live in Alabama. I have at different points in my life lived in Mexico and in Nigeria. I'm from places where it's hot. I like my drinks cold. It's
Yeah.
just a thing. All right.
And
So
I will say the cold temperature will tamp down certain flavor compounds.
yeah.
It's the reason why, hot tea and cold tea taste different. But again, if you like it that way, it doesn't make it wrong. So after you've had a chance to do that, has
So
anything changed for you?
yes. And I can feel it colder in my hand, and the ice cube is smaller, so I know it's watered down a little bit. Um, I tasted when I just did that more oak. Like I'm tasting more of the barrel than I did, which is weird because it's more diluted now than it was when I first had it. So why would that be, John?
Because you've diluted the alcohol and also the agitation of adding the ice cube, and it's now been able to sit for a while. Alcohol is the most volatile compound in here. A lot of these compounds are volatile and they will fade the longer it sits exposed to air or the more you agitate it. But alcohol is one of the most volatile. So the dilution has muted the alcohol heat, and that's allowing you to pick up on other elements. Also, that oak flavor, that's called villainin, and it is like vanilla. It is a chemical cousin to the flavor compounds in vanilla. That actually tends to come through at colder temps better than some other flavors. So, like you, I have not chilled mine, but I've diluted it. I do get vanilla, and now I do start to pick up a little bit of citrus and honey along with the vanilla and the caramel. But the alcohol heat has subsided a fair bit.
Okay, so to be fair, I've got what you just said on the brain. I'm not tasting this raw, but you saying that, and I absolutely can taste the vanilla. I'm not sure that I'm tasting the other things you mentioned, but we've talked about this before on this podcast. You've got a better palate than I do, and a better ability to describe what you're tasting. I will say I like this bourbon better when it is just a little bit diluted. Like it wasn't a big ice cube, and it was just one. I like it better when it's a little bit more diluted. I think I just like lower proof bourbons.
Yeah, and that's fair. I would still advocate for anybody out there that likes lower proof bourbons. Generally, it's a better deal to buy the higher proof bourbon and dilute yourself, because if otherwise you're just paying for the distiller's water.
Mm.
So there's that. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with preferring your bourbon at a lower proof. The fact that you tend to love Irish whiskey, and Irish whiskey is bottled at 80 proof, and by the time you add ice to it, you're probably down to 60 proof. Yeah, that tracks with your overall preferences, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I make up for alcohol content through quantity. So, John,
Yeah.
is there anything else we should explore about sample A, or should I move on real quick and try sample B?
I think for the time being, let's move on to B. If you have water, something to sip to cleanse your palate in between, that would be great. But we're still learning how to do these tastings, and that's okay if you don't.
All right. So I just had a little bit of water out of my ice jar. I'm not going to be able to completely cleanse, but fair.
That's okay.
Let me open up sample B, and sample B is still neat. And I'm going to try it that way first. It smells way hotter than the first one does, right? Like there's more alcohol on the nose immediately.
Which is interesting. I was having the opposite effect, but you just opened your lid, and mine's been sitting open in a glass for a while.
Yeah. So yeah, fair. It was just coming out, but it's when you immediately open the lid on this urine sample cup you sent me, which I'm going to assume this is the first thing it's ever been used for, because that assumption helps me get through my day.
Yes, it was brand new and sparkling clean before I used it.
Fair. It was immediately much hotter. All right, it's been open now for however long I've been complaining. Let me try it again. All right, it's already softer, so it just needed to air dilute for a second. It smells to me sweeter than the first one did, and I can't tell you why, and I can't put better bourbon words on it, but it smells to me sweeter than the first one did, and I think I need to taste this.
Yeah, I agree. I will also say it's a milder aroma, and I would not have characterized the first one as having much in the way of baking spices, but even diluted, it's now compared to the first one.
I like this one
A
better.
A now smells like cinnamon compared to B, which I did not pick up the first time. Go ahead and smell them back to back. See if you notice any,
So I
which I
would, but I
find
just,
fascinating.
and I like them both, and they're both good bourbons, but I just sipped B and I like B better. And I feel the need to finish drinking B because my workplace, much like yours, is complicated. It's complicated for very different reasons, but it's the end of a day and bourbon.
I'm also fascinated because I just picked up a peanut note in B that I do not normally associate with this particular whiskey. So
Hmm.
I'm sort of befuddled a bit myself.
All right. So I'm opening back up A.
I've gone to the dilution of B and I'm going to try to get them roughly to the same.
Yeah, it's A, or rather B, smells smoother and more pleasant. I'm now going to put in an ice cube. We had another technical difficulty. Some of this spilled. I've got less of B, so the ice cube will dilute it more than it did with A. And I'm going to wait just a minute. But I'm going to be really intrigued to hear you say what these are, right? Like I would have guessed with A that it was something like a Maker's Mark cask strength or something like that. With the B, I don't know that it is a smoother, sweeter thing. So hold on. Oh my goodness. Yeah, with just a tiny bit of dilution and ice, that's even better. So and if we're not there yet, we're not there yet, John, but I am dying to know what they are. And I like the B very much. What is it?
So you prefer A over B.
No, I prefer B over A.
Or you prefer B over A. So you prefer B. Do you have any guesses as to what A might be?
I think A tastes to me like Maker's cask strength, which I enjoy very much.
And do you have any? And I'm double checking my notes to make sure I get these correct because I'm 99% sure. And do you have any guesses on what B might be, which is your preferred bourbon of these two?
So to me, B tastes like it is lower proof. I don't know that for a fact, but it had less of a burn than A did. If one could still get Weller Green Label Special Reserve on the market, I might say that, but you can't. This is at least not in your market. This
Green
is
Label, yeah, every day it's available now. Since you've moved, Weller Green Label widely available in West Texas.
oh wow.
Now the other Weller labelings, not so much, but you might have to drive to one or two stores. But if you want you a bottle of Green Label, we could do that here in our Fairburg.
So you've got both Weller and HEB. I am super jealous. This tastes either like that or just like a base level Makers, right? Like it tastes like a lower proof version of the first one.
Okay. So you believe both of these to be wheated bourbons?
Um, I believe neither of them do be particularly high rye, right? Like neither one of them is a Wild Turkey 101 or
Okay.
anything.
But all of the options you've thrown out are wheaters.
They are, but that's
How
because
confident are you in that assertion?
I am not. Also, because you're smiling. Like, so listeners, y'all can only hear the audio. I'm having to look at John's ugly mug, and this is his
I'm enjoying
this is his I'm
Yeah.
about to screw with my buddy Bill face.
No,
So
you should be confident these are both wheated bourbons.
oh,
Your ability to discern bourbon is you are a better taster than you think you are. These are in fact both wheated bourbons.
okay. So if they are both wheated bourbons, one of them a just smells hotter. A almost has to be a cask strength something or another. And in your market, and you said bourbons, you didn't say like American whiskeys or anything like that. You
Correct.
said bourbons.
They are, I'll even go further because this eliminates a few options. These are straight Kentucky bourbons.
So I'm going to defer to the fact that you lived in Kentucky for a while and I have not. And the first trip to Kentucky, I am ashamed to admit I was not yet drinking bourbon. So
So I lived in
I don't know.
Kentucky for 3 years, but I was attending an institution which forbade me from drinking alcohol. So I did not have a drop of bourbon for the whole 3 years I lived there, which was torture. So let me ask you a couple of questions before we get to the reveal. You said you prefer B, yes? How strong is that? Like, do you enjoy A? Is A spirit you would willingly drink again?
I would absolutely drink A again. I like
Okay.
it very much. I just like B better. It's kind of like I like you, John. I just like my wife Rachel more.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's fair. So you believe both of these are good. You wouldn't tell anybody don't buy this or but if you had the choice between the two, you would rather have B.
Correct.
Okay. And I'm laughing because we are going to make some whiskey snobs very angry tonight. So Bill, you were right and wrong at the same time. One of these is in fact Maker's Mark cast strength, this particular bottle at 110 and a half proof. That varies batch to batch. But that is sample B.
Huh.
The one you prefer is Maker's Mark cask strength.
So what in the world was sample A, John?
Weller Antique 107 proof. The
Huh.
white well that people chase and pay $400, $500, $600 for.
One should not do that.
No. Now,
No.
I, I, unlike you, I do prefer A over B. Weller Antique has long been my favorite bourbon, but I will say this: I knew what I was tasting. I don't. I wonder what would happen if you had been the one that sent these samples. I have some questions as to whether or not I would have spotted my beloved Weller. I think the only thing that might have done it is I don't know why I'm getting that peanut oil characteristic in the makers that I normally do not associate with any wheated whiskey, especially makers. There is a taste difference between these two, and I'm fascinated by that because Weller Antique's been my favorite forever and ever. I'm in for the last decade. It has been unobtainium. You cannot get a hold of this bourbon. So I have been drinking the Maker's Cast Strength as an analog. They're very similar, right? Weller Antique is 107 years old, 107 proof. Maker's Cast Strength will range anywhere from 109 to 112 proof, whatever it comes out of the barrel at. Maker's Mark does not carry an age statement typically, but they blend to be somewhere in the 6 year range. Weller Antique used to have an age statement of 7 years. My understanding is they still strive to get as close to that 7 year flavor profile as they can, but they don't have enough stock that they could certify as 7 years old. By the numbers, these are very similar whiskeys. The grain bill is just about identical. The only real difference is the distillation process and then the barrel aging process because the two distilleries are 90 miles apart. And in Kentucky, that means something, but not a ton. Um, yeah, are you surprised that you prefer the makers over the hard to find collector's item Weller Antique?
I am not. And to be clear, because I had a little bit more of the A, I had a little bit more of the Weller. I'm drinking it. It's delicious. I like it very much. But no, I'm not surprised. I will say one time I did a taste testing side by side of the Weller 12-year-old with the Pappy Van Winkle 12-year-old. And I I couldn't taste a difference, which makes sense as it's the same juice aged in the same rickhouse.
Yes, with just slightly different floors, and Julian Van Winkle gets to pick his bottles.
But
Yeah,
I am proud of myself that I wasn't wildly wrong about what I was
no,
tasting.
no, the fact that you guessed that one of these because these are two very similar bourbons. The fact that you flip flopped which was which, but you knew
Hmm.
you were getting a high proof weeded bourbon. So your bourbon palate is way better than you give yourself credit for.
And
Um,
Makers is smoother than Weller. That's what
and
I learned tonight.
I'm having the opposite. I'm having the opposite experience. I still find the Weller to be a little smoother. But taste, that goes to another point. Taste is subjective. We
Fair.
all experience things different. I do. mm, there's a, I find the Weller to be smoother, but I find the Maker's Mark to have a more complex and interesting flavor. And I did not expect that. This is killing my little Weller drinking soul. I've been drinking Weller since I was 13. Don't judge. I think I like the Makers better too. And that is not an outcome I expected because I've had both of these bottles in my house. I've never A-B'd them before.
So all I will say,
Yeah.
John, is the next time we do this, when I send these sample cups back to you, I promise that it will be whiskey. I haven't decided what I'm doing exactly yet, but I am very much looking forward to your reaction the way that you have gotten to see my reaction tonight.
I am too. And when I get the bottle back, I do plan, it may not always be a straight spirit tasting. I think there may be times that I send you, say, two different Amaros and we make paper planes with them or that kind of thing, just to play around with some different ingredients, or two different gins, but don't drink them neat. Let's make Manhattan martinis, excuse me. So we may play around with those sorts of things. All right. I think we bored the listeners to death with our bourbon tasting, other than go buy you some Maker's Mark Cast Strength. Bill, let's jump into the news. I have a feeling you're going to have big feelings about this first story.
Uh, I do have big feelings, and I will take it away. So Scott in Vital Vegas reported that El Cortez, because they hate us, is shutting down beloved diner Siegel's 1941 next spring in order to remodel that space into a New York style steakhouse, because apparently there's no place to get a damn steak anywhere in downtown Las Vegas. And y'all, I am so upset about this. Like, Siegel's 1941 is one of the last things which was holding me into El Cortez. You got a great corned beef hash there with poached eggs, and I am super, super sad and angry. John, what is your reaction to this news?
I want to see what they do because there's not a lot of dining inside that space. They've added a McDonald's, they've added Sin Nudes, the Asian noodle bar, but you still need a breakfast restaurant on your property. If they run it as a New York style steakhouse for dinner service, but have a breakfast menu and keep some of those items, I think they can get away with this. But I will say, downtown Las Vegas has some incredible steakhouses. I'm partial to Oscars, but honestly, Barry's is great. Andy Almo's is great. Top of Binions is great. You've had
Yes, it
Vic and
is.
Anthony. I haven't. Like, I, I think this is a mistake by El Cortez. But we'll see. I mean, they've been running that property for a long time. They're smart business people. Maybe they're right. I like having a diner in that property, and I'm with you. I think this is an error.
Yeah. I am not happy because we are losing one more place that has corned beef hash, one more place that is a phenomenal diner breakfast. Don, what was the name of that Irish place? 7th and Carson that we went to. So
Yes.
folks, if you would otherwise have gone to Siegel's 1941 when it closes next spring, go to 7th and Carson. They've got you. They will fix your breakfast related needs.
Yeah, and it is a block away. It is not far from the front door of El Cortez. It is a block away. I agree with you. Well, let's get into this. This is a continuance of what we talked about last week. Last week we shared the story about Derek Stevens and his brother buying the dirt underneath the Golden Gate. Well, Golden Entertainment, the owners of the Strat and both Arizona Charlie's locations in the Las Vegas Valley, went the opposite direction. They have now sold their dirt to Vici, which, by the way, Vici already owns the dirt underneath all of the Caesars properties and all of the MGM properties. So never mind who runs the casinos. At this point, Vici pretty much owns the strip. Bill, I've just got a bad feeling about having one operator technically own all that land. Because I feel like that's got to have some consequence for variety, even if you have different operators actually running the casinos.
It will have that consequence. I am very worried. The only like bit of hope that I have is that those leases expire at different times and the Vici ownership will change over time, right? Or at least the management will change over time.
Yeah.
So that gives me some hope here. But yeah, that is not phenomenal. Although my last couple of experiences with MGM properties on the strip have been so bad. And I can't believe I, as the leader in the luxury lounge, I'm about to say this to you, John. I'm about to become team downtown for Vegas trips. I will still go to the strip for like my favorite cigar bar in the world, other than in my town here in Alabama, is on the Las Vegas Strip. There are a couple of restaurants that you cannot replicate anywhere else. But for staying and drinking and gambling and just generally having the deep philosophical conversations that we have in Vegas, I'm I'm switching to team downtown.
And we welcome you as a convert to our religion, sir.
Excellent. Well, in other news, the Food and Loathing podcast visited Nine Fine Irishmen in New York, New York to try their $7 patio bites menu, which includes small versions of favorites like fish and chips or the shepherd's pie. Also, it has $5 Guinness and Jameson. Those prices are available in their newly expanded outdoor patio and will be available at least through New Year's Eve. This is absolutely baller on a budget territory, John, which should be something I assume you'll be trying at some point, as two people can split three small plates, grab a drink each, and get out under $50 with tax and a pretty generous tip. So before I ask John for his response, two things, folks. One, tip your people in Vegas. Like even if they bring you something for free, they are working hard, they're underpaid. Give them a tip. You can argue that our economy shouldn't be that way, but it is that way. Give them a tip. Second, long-term listeners, welcome back. New listeners, welcome. Either one of you, please like and subscribe and leave a comment to help us grow this podcast. But long-term listeners will know that my oldest son, Edwin, goes to school in Dublin. My younger son, Paul, is choosing right now. He's a high school senior. He is choosing between going to school in Galway and going to school in Cork. I've spent at least 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes in Irish pubs over the last couple of years. And the Irish pubs in Las Vegas as are one of the more authentic experiences that you can get in Las Vegas. Like the architecture is right, the bar is correct, the staff is generally correct, the prices are too high, but the whiskeys are correct. John, I am excited about this. Is this a thing you're ever going to check out?
Yeah, so my wife and I have a trip scheduled in December, and we if the trip falls through, there's some things that could get in the way, but if the trip happens, we'll be staying in New York, New York. It's my wife's favorite property. Uh, because it's the outside patio, this will be a little bit weather dependent, but assuming the weather's nice enough, we'll absolutely avail ourselves of this. I will say, you and I wax poetic about Raw at the shops at Mandalay Bay.
Yes, we do, and we
Between
should.
Yes, between New York, and Raw, I prefer Raw. That said, New York is a lot of fun. They have live music. One of their bands is ironically named Raw. You know, if you're in New York, it's definitely a place worth checking out. And I got to say that if we're sitting on a heated patio on a cold December day, that shepherd's pie and an Irish car bomb, which would be your Guinness and Jameson combo, that's probably my order. I got to say. So
Um,
yeah, Bill, I'm looking forward to that.
and before you move on and talk about our next story, John, listeners, for the love of all that's good and holy, if you've never listened to anything I've said before, listen to this. Do not in Ireland order an Irish car bomb.
Yeah, they frown
Order,
on that sort of thing.
yeah, that is bad. Don't do that thing. It turns out they will kick your ass, and then the judge will be like, "What? Why are you here?" So, John, what is our next news story?
So the Neon blog at the Review Journal, who stole their name shamelessly from Al Mancini's Neon Feast news website, which has now been just rebranded as Food and Loathing's blog because the Review Journal stole their name the same way they steal most of the stories from Scott at Vital Vegas. Anyway, the official fish wrap and birdcage liner of the city of Las Vegas covered the glitzy grand opening party for the new outlet of LA's Boa Steakhouse, which is located on the second floor of the Grand Canal Shops on the Palazzo side of things. Photos of D and E and F list celebrities and random models can be found on their blog. If you have nothing better to do than wonder what Perez, no, not Paris, Perez Hilton wears to eat steak. This is Boa's second attempt at Vegas, coming more than a decade after their Forum Shops location folded. This is a high end dining establishment with a dress code and a menu that features caviar, A5 Wagyu choices, and even an omakase experience option served at quote unquote market price. In other words, when you order omakase, they'll bring you whatever they want to, they'll charge you whatever you want to. If you have to wonder if you can afford it, you can't. Bill, you are our leader in the luxury lounge. When you're looking for luxury, does this kind of place that's appealing to LA celebrity, and if you have to ask, you can't afford it ethos, is this your idea of luxury, or will you pass on this for other high-end steakhouses?
So, two different things. First, that is the first time that we've on our run sheet had a really long news item that you wrote and that I didn't. And so I congratulate you and I welcome you to my world. Second, there is nothing about this place which particularly appeals to me. And you know, I will spend a lot of money to have a nice meal in Vegas. Rachel, for those of you who don't know, Rachel's my wife. Rachel, if you're ever listening to this, one time I spent an entire $5 on dinner in Vegas. It was obscene. This place, I don't want a place that's trying to be fancy. I love a place which is fancy, but this place strikes me as they're trying too hard.
Yeah.
So if you go into Le Cirque before their menu prices got out of whack, great. If you go into Eiffel Tower now, great. There are a few other places that are lovely. I don't have any interest in going here. So, John, do I assume from the fact that I don't have any interest in going here that you don't have any interest in going
Yeah,
here?
absolutely not. I put this in the same category as Poppy's Steakhouse, which does the stupid bringing out the expensive steak covered in gold foil in a briefcase with like dancing people. Um, yeah, Poppy Steak, Boa Steak, and a box labeled Summer's Eve have something in common. And I
Indeed.
will leave it at that to try to err on the side of classiness. Anyway, Bill, before I rant anymore,
Before you rant anymore, I will begin to rant and say that Las Vegas Locally tweeted news and details of the MGM Tier Accelerator event that will run from December 14th through the 28th for those on the cusp of leveling up their tier status. And I will say, listeners, that 4 or 5 years ago, this is a thing I would have cared about very much because I cared about my wallet candy. I cared about my MGM tier status. MGM has made me so angry so many times by not following through on their deals that I simply don't care. Don, do these tier accelerator deals matter to you at all?
yes and no. So I have the MGM credit card, which means I have Pearl status no matter what. However, because I changed from the regular to the iconic card and I got a big old bonus, if I can afford to just be a little extravagant in my December trip, which falls during this window, I could conceivably get to gold. Gold gets you no resort fees and a stay credit and a free cruise.
So that absolutely matters. All right.
So ordinarily, I do not chase status and I don't advise chasing status because listeners, here's the thing. If you're new to Vegas, absolutely sign up for the rewards programs. You might not get much out of it, but you might get something. Charge everything back to your room so you get points. Look, at El Cortez one time, because I stayed in a hotel room and I gambled a very small amount of money, I got enough points for a free ice cream. And you know what? I like ice cream. So even if you don't get big perks, do sign up for the rewards program. That said, never chase reward status because the benefits you get will always cost more than the amount of spending and gambling you have to do to earn them. Casinos are not a charity. They're not going to give you status and free stuff for nothing. If it happens that your comfortable level of spending and gaming happens to get you to a level that gives you perks, great. Take the perks. Um, you should, but don't chase status. Like, I don't even think, as good as gold would be and as close as I am, I can't see myself gambling an extra $1,000 I can't afford to lose just to get that status. So
But can
it's
you
not a good
afford,
idea.
John, can you afford to win?
Uh, yes, but I don't control the outcome, and the odds are in the house's favor. So yeah, it would not be wise to bet more than I'm comfortable with, even though I'm very close because of credit card bonuses. So don't get me wrong. While I'm there, I'll watch my points, and if it's a matter of if I push myself $100 further, then I'll do that. But I'm not going to, even as close as I am not going to chase this because chasing status is a fool's errand. Take whatever status you're comfortable spending in gaming earns you. Do not chase.
And Rachel, when you eventually listen to this, I want you to know I'm offended by what John said. I have never in my life spent $100 in Las Vegas, cumulative in all the trips I've taken since I started going in 2005. I'm now up to $20, maybe 25. So what John is saying is crazy talk.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
On that note, Las Vegas locally is also reporting that Teamsters Local 986 has authorized a strike at the Rio. According to 8 News Now, the Teamsters represent roughly 100 employees at Rio, all of whom have been working under a contract that expired on April of 2024. Um, that seems to coincide with their shift in ownership, and it sounds like they haven't had time with the new management team to come up with a new deal. Bill, any thoughts on that one?
I mean, April of 2024 is a year and a half now. They've had time. They just haven't had emphasis. And Rio can't afford something like this because you've already got that off-strip location. You need to be on your A game all the time. And if you've got 100 employees who aren't showing up, and none of the news stories I can find tell me what these employees did, but that can't possibly be good for the Rio. And listeners, you heard me earlier say take care of your people. The people who make your Vegas trip pleasant, do take care of them. Obviously, you can't control labor disputes, and I won't even begin to say who's at fault in this particular dispute, but do take care of your people when you go to Las Vegas.
Yeah, I agree with your sentiments, Bill, and I am not going to comment any further on this story because I don't know enough about the particulars of what the Rio is willing to do and what the union is asking for. I am generally disposed to believe that the people who do the work ought to get their fair share, but in this particular case, I don't know enough to say who's right or wrong. So we'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. Well, John, would you mind taking the next story? Because I think it's going to give you a pad for something you want to say. And I kind of want to take the college football story at the end of our run sheet.
Sure. So ex accountant Josh and Rachel posted pictures of the menu at Carbone Riviera, which includes features such as a $250 bone and ribeye and $168 Dover sole. Similarly, Jason Orth of Jacob Orth of Jacob's Life in Vegas posted a picture of a $15 can of Pringles in the Aria mini fridge, uh, which seems like beyond the luxury lounge and is instead just crazy. I'm going to separate these two stories, Bill, and here's how.
Please tell.
So with Jacob in the mini bar, look, mini bar prices, it's not just recent Vegas price gouging. For as long as I've been going to Vegas, the mini bar prices are stupid. Um, but if you're dumb enough to pay it, you get what you get. I've said it before, and I know you tend to not do it because you don't want to give yourself the opportunity to snack. I always hit up the ABC store or CVS or Walgreens and buy some snacky things in the room so that if I get the munchies at 2 in the morning, I don't open the mini bar. I will say that $15 for the little can of Pringles is not as bad as some other things. So I'm going to set that aside because I think if you're buying from the mini bar, you're paying the I'm a dum dum who didn't prepare tax. That doesn't bother me. With the other one with Carbone Riviera, I know you're waiting on the baller on a budget to flip out. I would need to know how many people they serve. I still think $250 for a ribeye that serves two is more than I want to pay, but that's $125 a diner. You and I have both paid $80 a diner for a steak. So it's more than I want to pay, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Same thing on the Dover Sole. You are partially paying for the experience of being in that dining space. I probably pass on this, but I'm not as offended as you might have imagined.
I am really surprised by that because we've talked before about how prices in Las Vegas are just getting out of control. And both of these stories strike me as that. And I guess part of it's been I have enjoyed tremendously the year and a half that I have spent here in Alabama. And most of the place, fancy is absolutely a thing which exists here. But most of the food that I eat isn't fancy. Mostly my dining experiences are a very old woman seeing me walk up because I go to the same places over and over and being like, "Oh, hey, baby, how you doing today?" And then she serves me like 47,000 calories for about $12. So Alabama has changed my dining preferences.
Yeah, I think traveling together, we've rubbed off on each other because I think our personalities are starting to swap a little bit. You've made me like luxury things more than I used to, and I have shown you the glory of saving a buck or two. I will ask this, Bill. In Alabama, does a fancy place mean that you are required to wear the shirt underneath your bib overalls? Is that how that works?
My people in Alabama are much maligned. Most of us have actually, learned our entire alphabets at some point.
And they're gazintas.
I will say to our listeners before I move on, if I have had both 80-year-old women and 25-year-old women in Alabama who I have never met before and had no reasonable prospect of ever talking to again refer to me as sweetheart, baby, or any number of other things. Listeners, two things. One, please do come visit us in Alabama. It is a lovely place. Second, they are not interested in you. That's their way of being polite.
I just can't wait to isolate the clip of you saying I have had 80-year-old women and then pausing.
Yeah, that's why I don't let you edit this, John, because
Oh
I've
yeah,
met you before and I know you
that's
would.
that's true. I'm not allowed. Yeah, that's why I can't do that. Darn. All
That
right.
is fun. So, moving on, listeners, we talked a little bit last week about the college football playoffs for gambling purposes, and we'll keep doing that for the next couple 3 weeks until that's over because a lot of you are going to Las Vegas to make sports bets. So, the top 10 in the second round of the college football playoff rankings are at number one, Ohio State. Two, Indiana. Three, my beloved Texas A&M Aggies. Four, Alabama. Five, Georgia. Six, Texas Tech. Seven, Ole Miss. Eight, Oregon. Nine, Notre Dame. And 10, a publicly funded institution in Austin, which isn't worth mentioning. So, John, here's my real question. Also worth knowing is that Oklahoma is sitting at 11 and plays Alabama this weekend, which will absolutely change these rankings. Also, the school from Austin is at Georgia, which will also change these rankings. Last week, BYU lost to Texas Tech, causing them to drop BYU to drop to 12th. So, listeners, all that matters for these sports bets that you're going to be placing. But, John, here's my real question. I have battered Aggie syndrome, something fierce. My
Yeah.
Aggies are now 9-0 on the season. And I understand we're an 8-4 team, and I understand that we're going to finish this season at 8-4, and yet right now we're 9-0, which makes it really hard for me to understand how we're going to finish our 8-4 season. John, is this just evidence that my Aggies are going to disappoint me again?
It is evidence why every other fan base hates listening to Aggie talk. Because y'all are miserable when your team is bad. Cool. So are the rest of us when our team is bad. But then y'all are still miserable when they're good. Be happy. Enjoy the ride. Look. If my team was 9-0 right now, I would be dancing naked in the streets.
Please don't.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter because we couldn't get past anyway. Damn you, Sonny Dykes. Like, if my team was 9-0 right now, I would be having the riff ram bazoo, ziggy ziggy zoo zoo, hoo ha ha hoo, give them hell TCU tattooed on my big white hairy rump. Like, you are 9-0. Quit being miserable. Enjoy the ride as far as it goes. You may not get all the way to the title game. So what? Shut up and enjoy the ride. You're like the guy who's on the date with the pretty girl that's like, what if she looks like her grandma when she's 80? You're not going to live that long. Enjoy the ride.
I cannot enjoy college football. College football was created by God for the specific purpose of punishing me for my personal sins. Second, I actually went to my doctor yesterday, and I've got bad news for you, John. Apparently, I'm going to live well past 80 because this finely tuned physical specimen that you're looking at right now is in peak physical condition. You're welcome.
Speaking of peak condition, I've had so much bourbon, I left out the lickety Zuzu, and all the TCU fans who listen to us, all three of them, are going to be offended. I apologize, my fellow alumni.
I have no interest in your lickety Zuzu.
On that note, Bill, yeah, but your 80-year-old girlfriend does. On that note, Bill, let's bring this podcast in for a crash landing. Why don't you tell our listeners where else they can find some Dine, Drink, Vegas, and Dine, Drink, Travel content? My Lord.
So, listeners, we are in Texas and Alabama, both of which places love bagels, but you can't find a lot. But if you're looking for Dine Drink Vegas, you can find us on YouTube at Dine Drink Vegas, where I bring you short and focused videos which help you plan your next trip. You can also find us on YouTube at Dine Drink Travel, where we include information like the Irish pubs I have visited, as well as air travel, including the executive lounges at the Las Vegas airport. You can also find me on most social media platforms at Dine Drink Travel, except for Blue Sky, where I'm Dine Drink Bill. And John, where can they find you on social media?
I am on X at Dine Drink John, where I'm happy to talk to you about Las Vegas, adult beverages, coffee, the NFL football, why Jerry Jones is even more forgetful than me, and I will probably making apologies to the mighty Horned Frog Nation later this week. We thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast. If you've enjoyed what we've done and you've got a friend who's planning a trip to Las Vegas, could use our sage wisdom, or a hated mortal enemy who cannot stand the sound of old fat white Southern guys talking, either way, share our podcast with them. Like, subscribe, hit thumbs up, hit heart, leave comments, whatever it is your platform does. That way we can help build our brand and continue to bring you this outstanding travel commentary. And until the next episode, thanks for listening. Happy travels.